It is Friday, June 20th, about 11 o'clock in the morning. Mike Giardi, Will Parkinson, the All 32 Pod, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Show brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first $5. PrizePicks, run your game. So, Will, these we keep talking about. This is the dog days, and you'll notice a lot of podcasts are streaming it down or going away completely. Not us. We're here. We're bringing you content. We're having fun with this. So I thought today we would do best supporting cast in the AFC, and we'll come back next week and do the NFC best supporting cast. This is taking the quarterback out of the equation on offense. So this is offensive line. This is the run game. This is the receiving core. This is the play caller. And I got to tell you, just a big overview, Will, and I don't know if you feel the same way. I think you do. The AFC supporting cast, not great. It's not great.
Yeah, it feels like there's either groups that are really, really good, and you look at the skill group in Cincinnati or the receivers really in Cincinnati, or you could argue some of the stuff in Miami or Buffalo's got deep, and there's different things, right? Like the Chiefs have a lot of different options. Do you love any of the options? Maybe not. You like some of them. Even the Raiders, I've talked about this a million times. Like it's a lot of projection, right? Like when we know Jacoby Myers, my point being like the fact that I'm in the fourth sentence, I just talked about a team with Jacoby Myers as their number one receiver is like not that impressive. And then you have a lot of teams, I think that the Jets, I think this about, or the Browns or New England or Tennessee or these other teams where one or two pieces, you're like, oh, that's awesome. They could compete with anybody. And then you look at like 2 through 4 in the depth chart or some piece of the offensive line or tight end or different places, and you're like, ugh. So, the NFC is more stacked when it comes to skill groups. That said, like, the quarterbacks in the AFC make it so this conversation is why it's such an interesting one as opposed to the NFC.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. I think it actually, I don't know. I haven't looked at the NFC to rate them yet, as we'll do that for next week's show. But as I was doing this one, I found myself like arguing, like, okay, well, this is what it is now. But if this happens and this happens, or if this guy returns from injury, or hey, if this play caller is as good as I think he is, then, where I have them now, the ceiling could be considerably raised, if we did this again halfway through the year. But we have to do it right now. We've got a show to do today, so let's do it. And we'll start with the worst to the first. And I'll let you lead off here with number 16 in the AFC.
I went back and forth. I went Tennessee here. I know there's a lot of talk around. I saw the Jets by The Athletic was ranked last. I've seen conversations around Cleveland, even New England, places like that. I'm a big believer that the Browns' offensive line has deteriorated pretty significantly, Mike, over the last 4 years. I felt like this was a group in 21, 22, 23 where it was like the staple of their team was good defense, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and then really good offensive line. You like tight end, you like Nick Chubb. It just felt like, oh, quarterback's missing, or they need that one other receiver, right? And I don't know. Do you love their receivers?
No.
I think there's times where they've looked good. I don't know like how else to phrase it. I think they have the receiver.
Yeah, Judy's a solid player. Cedric Bowman could be depending on who's throwing him the football. But again, we're taking the quarterback out of this. He could be a 700, 800 yard receiver.
Good player. Receiver's not why they're 16 for me. I don't love the offensive line. I don't love the running back room.
Right.
I don't really love the tight end room that much. So, and like as much as Stefanski, if you want to factor in play callers, sure, but I don't know. To me, I don't. Sorry, I went Tennessee. Initially went Tennessee. I kind of almost talked myself into Cleveland. I just like Tennessee's going to be 15 for me. So I'll touch on Tennessee quickly, and then I'll let you give kind of a couple in a row here. Here's my issue with Tennessee. On paper, you go, oh, okay, I know these names.
Yeah.
Are we like that high on Calvin Ridley at this point? He makes some plays and he looks good at times. And maybe another year removed from the suspension, he's a better player. But he's like a not so sneaky, like getting older. And years off don't ever help anybody. I don't know how many times we have to go through this. Not that it was a volunteered year off. Pollard, I think, does some nice things. But I don't think he's like this bell cow back that's going to make me put them as a top 10 group. I don't really know if Brian Callahan's a good play caller. So, and the offensive line, Mike, there's again a lot of names you know. There's not a lot of names I like. So,
Right.
um, Cleveland, Tennessee, part of the reason I don't think they're going to be very good this year is unless Cam Ward is really awesome, which there's a chance he could be awesome. Generally, Tennessee, I just don't love. And from Cleveland's perspective, again, like, yes, quarterback's a concern, but also what's surrounding the quarterback isn't like wowing you. And to me, so many unknowns. And I know Stefanski is a good play caller. I talk about him being really good all the time, but I don't know if he can overcome again quarterback and just the offensive line. Again, I'm going to harp on this. Neither of those groups, like a lot of big names, less so, I guess, with Cleveland now, as a lot of guys have moved on. I don't know. I don't think much of either group personally.
I had the Browns 14th, and I would say Stefanski, I still think is a really good play caller and a play designer. And so even though I don't love the running back room, I figure he'll be able to get something out of that group. They took a couple shots at receivers, running backs rather. Look, I don't feel great about it. I had the Titans 13th. I'm gonna trust that Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach, is gonna get some of that young offensive line to come together. I like J.C. Latham. I didn't love him. I think he'll be better on the right side. Cushenberry coming back from the Achilles, like to me, could make a real big difference for them. So I like Pollard. I like Ridley, actually. I think I like Ridley more than you do. You're right. The age thing can be a factor there. And I'm not sure what there is after him. But when you start to look at, as I'm looking at the various groups that I have in this sort of category, and I would say there are probably 5 teams that I had in the lower end of the AFC in terms of how I broke it down. When I went to compare it to the other teams, it's a slight edge. I mean, again, you could tell me I could easily flip one or the other. You could make a strong argument as we're doing this thing, and I might say, well, you know what? Let me change that to that. But that's where I stand right now. I had the Jets at 16th. I I like Garrett Wilson. I think the offensive line has obviously potential. Fasciano at left tackle, Mambo at right tackle. Like that could be an incredible building block. We haven't seen it yet, right? And I don't know anything about Tanner Engstrom in terms of and what we've heard from him so far. Again, whatever. This is what Aaron Glenn wants, so he's very vanilla. But like, I don't have a real feel for what he's going to be like as a play caller. Brees is coming off a down year. Garrett's awesome. Garrett's one of the best receivers in football. But what else is there after him? So you could easily convince me if the offensive line stays healthy, they could take a big jump. They could end up at the front end of this group. They could end up 10th when all said and done. But right now, just today, that's where I'm at. And I have the Patriots 15th. And I know I'm going to get yelled at and X is going to explode on me and we're going to get comments. You're an idiot. They have Drake May that this. There are so many questions, and I keep coming back to it. And we've talked about it throughout the course of the offseason. For me, offensive line is huge. And while I look at the Jets offensive line and say, hey, there's potential here if they stay healthy, I'm betting on that and a couple unknowns. With the Patriots, I'm betting on like what? There's no left guard. There's a rookie left tackle that was their 5th choice to play left tackle. Could be good. I don't, everything so far from Will Campbell, fine. Not in pads yet. Garrett Bradbury stepped down from what David Andrews was. Mike and Wen, who's not in shape. Morgan Moses is 34. It's like, I don't know how much better the offensive line is going to be from last year. And, oh, by the way, Doug Marrone, as the offensive line coach, has been quick to get fired in a couple other spots and has had a hard time reaching veteran offensive linemen, which may reason to why the Patriots have 2 other assistants under him, including Robert Kugler, who's only 32. Like, Doug's abrasive. Doug might, rub some of these young guys wrong. Well, here's Kugler. You're the one who's got to smooth it over with some of these players. But again, that's a wide receiver room. Yeah, Steph Diggs could be a 1,000-yard receiver. He could also struggle to come back from the ACL. We've already had some off-field stuff. Like, I don't know. And then what's beyond him? There's competition there, but it's not high-level competition. We're not talking about this guy could be a 1 one day. This guy could be a real 2 one day. We're not really sure of that. So for me, Jet 16, Patriots 15, Browns 14, and then I had the Titans 13. Again, there is some projection here. For certain teams, you look at it a certain way. This is just where I feel about it right now.
Yeah, I had the Patriots 14. I think they should, by the end of the year, if things break the right way, specifically with Campbell and Diggs,
Yep.
And maybe one of that group of the mid, as I'll call it, it kind of applies to the Jets too, and applies to other teams, which I'll touch on here in a second. Can one of those guys, can Javon Baker be like an NFL number 3 receiver, and that you go in and it's like, hey, Baker, Pop, and Polk and Diggs going into next year and adding someone, like, we feel really good about the group. I've talked about this a million times. If Campbell's a really good NFL player right away, this really helps. If Hunter Henry continues to be a really good player, that helps a lot. Like, again, from a running back perspective, I love the Patriots running back room on paper. They got a guy with a rookie that's really awesome, but I'm not sure how the feet are going to hold up. And they've got a running back that their starter that last year was like unplayable at times because he couldn't stop fumbling. So, again, Ramondre, when he's Ramondre, awesome player.
Mm-hmm.
He raises them, but what Ramondre am I getting in 2025? The really good player or the guy you're like, no wonder Bill wanted to bench this guy, right? I have them 14, but again, the Jets I have 13. I debated between the Jets and the Steelers. I'm going to give the Steelers, actually, you know what? F this. I'm going to go Steelers at 13, Jets at 12. These 3 teams all should be higher in my opinion, but there's just not really there's not really a spot to go. The Jets should be in the top 10 by the end of the year because that means the offensive line is what it's supposed to be. And it's any team with a really good offensive line generally is at least a pretty good group on offense. The Jets have top-end talent, but again, I don't know what Mason Taylor, Breece Hall, and this offensive line are going to be yet. I know Garrett is going to be really good. Everything else, really like the running back room, but is Breece a tier 1 guy still? Is he more like the 15th best back? Is he the 20th best back? Or is he the 3rd best back in the league? Those all matter. Is Arian Smith a decent football player? And it's like, oh, wow, the Jets have a burner now, and Josh Reynolds looks like 2022 Josh Reynolds. And it's like, oh, this group isn't great, but it's pretty solid. And Mason Taylor's like, the Jets are all projection. And you mentioned with Engstrand, but I put the Steelers 13th. I don't know what I'm missing. I think DK has had his best year. Maybe I'm wrong, and DK's still a really good player. Like, I'm by no means sitting here saying DK's not good.
Right.
Firemoose a good player. Am I going to start doing handstands for Calvin Austin? Jalen Warren is like a really cool, like, angry runs guy, and that's awesome. But last year was supposed to be the big Jalen Warren year, and it wasn't. So, and I think Caleb Johnson's like potentially going to be good, but I feel like going into the draft, it was like guys thought he was the 2nd best back, or people were like, he's a day 3 pick, Right. And I don't know if it was you or somebody you mentioned, like, I don't really love him. Like, they're like, I don't know. I don't get it. So I went Titans, Browns, Patriots, Steelers, Jets. Honestly, all those groups just really are not like, there's either offensive coordinator problems, depth problems, top end talent problems. You could mix and match, to your point, any of those 5 in any order. Yeah, I'm probably a little higher in the Jets just because I think from an offensive line perspective, they have the best group of any of those guys, and I'm just valuing that. But, like, the Jets could easily be 16 too until we see it. Again, I don't know what Mason Taylor is. I don't know what these guys are, so it's all projection.
One of the reasons, as I kind of looked at the playmakers group, Breece had a down year. There was rumblings about whether they're going to trade him. Is he out of – does this group not like him? Then I'm looking at the receiver crew, and I'm like, Mason Taylor could be your 2nd best receiver, but we haven't seen him actually play an NFL game. And you and I, we loved him at the Senior Bowl. I think it's a great pick. I think he's going to be a really good player for a long time. But again, you've got to go prove it. I had the Steelers 11th, and I guess this is where you could argue my argument against the Jets, or at least how I place the Jets, how I'm placing the Steelers. I look at their offensive line and I say, okay, they've struggled to pass block. There's a lot of young, talented players in that group, high draft picks. So can those guys come together? And if they do, then that's going to be a pretty good group. I mean, there's Fontenot, Jones, who else? Mason McCormick in the middle, like Zach Frazier. Like, I think Zach Frazier's already one of the best centers in the game.
Yeah.
So like there's that chance for them to be a really good group, which then will help. Again, we don't put the quarterbacks in this. This is excluding the quarterback, but like that'll help the quarterback. That'll help someone like Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren, where, let's face it, the Steelers the last couple years in particular with Najee have been like 3.9 yards per carry. Like they need a little bit more punch in their running game. I don't like their wide receiver room at all. I still hold out hope that Roman Wilson, who was injured a ton last year,
Same
I
thing
love
with
them.
Corley. Like I don't even think Corley's going to make the roster, but same guys, 3rd-round picks that
Right.
had really good Senior Bowl weeks and had his great college production. And last year was crickets. Like Corley couldn't even get on the field. When he did, he dropped a touchdown. And Roman Wilson, I feel like, was banged up. Then it was just weird. Like
pretty far down he ended up pretty far down the depth chart by the end of the year. They're talking him up this offseason, as you would expect they would, a 3rd-round pick, but like
no one give us a 5th.
yeah, exactly. So I had them 11. I had 12th, and this may surprise people because I really like the pass catching group.
I know
I really like the quarterback. I have questions about the OC, and I can't stand the offensive line. That's the Houston Texans. I know Stroud it was still a good year. Like when you go back and look at it, like from the numbers perspective, but we talked about it. You were on it from the get-go. Like, put the ball in harm's way a little bit more. Obviously, they had issues with the offensive line. They've turned it over. And when they've turned it over, you're like, are any of these guys better than what they had? I mean, they traded their best offensive lineman by a long shot in Laramie Tunsil. And now it's the Cam Robinson, Trent Brown. Like, their best offensive lineman is probably Titus Howard. Jake Andrews is their starting center right now, who's a Patriots cast-off. Again, a Patriots cast-off at offensive line is currently their starting center. That should tell you a lot about maybe where they're at in terms of their process. I like the running back room. I love Nico Collins, and I'm a big, as we've talked, Jalen Noel. Love him. Would have drafted him higher. I think he's a better player than Jaden Higgins. They're the other wide receiver they got from Iowa State, but like I like that group. I can't get past the offensive line and an inexperienced offensive coordinator who could turn out to be good. Having the McDaniels offense as his proving ground, then going to McVay and learning the McVay system, but it's similar to Engstrom. Like I don't fully know what you're going to be, so I put the Texans 11. Like I said, I have the Steelers. I put the Texans 12th, the Steelers 11th. I had the Chargers 10th. Ladd McConkey's awesome. Like, give me Ladd McConkey all day, every day. Love the way he plays. Love his toughness. People will say he's the number one. I struggle with that a little bit because I just don't think physically he's that kind of dominating guy. Like Julian Edelman was a 1, but like
Edelman wasn't a 1 until he took over
right.
legit playoff games.
Right, and it's like even then, if some team really wanted to
could have taken him out of the game.
Take him out of the game, you could take him out of the game, and I think probably teams can do that with Ladd. And then when you look at what's after him, it's Mike Williams, the corpse of Mike Williams. It's Trey Harris, the rookie from Ole Miss, and maybe Trey will be good. Like I've said before, I don't think Lane Kiffin did an awesome job of getting his offensive guys ready for the next level with the offense. It's pretty, but like Trey Harris's route tree is like go routes and stops. It's going to be a little bit more complex than that in the NFL. Like the running back room, they made a couple changes on their offensive line. Obviously, like both tackles and Slater and Alt. Greg Roman, you know what Greg Roman is? Like he's not a top end. It seems to be everywhere he's gone, there's a ceiling to the offense, and maybe the ceiling happens this year, maybe it's next year, but like, so that's kind of where I'm at with them. I feel like they need way more at the pass catcher spot, and I don't love the interior offensive line from them, so that's where I am with the Chargers at 10.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I would have. I'll probably have the Chargers below the Texans just by 1, and because I think so much of like Nico and that group.
Nico's awesome.
The Texans offensive line and I love the Chubb signing, so I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. Problem is the Texans again. If you told me the offensive line was even formidable, they'd probably be in the top 5.
From a playmaker standpoint, they've got plenty of guys.
They have as good of a group as anybody in the AFC. They really, in my opinion, because they have one of the Nico's a top 10 receiver in the league. Which is so like they have a formidable one.
Nico might be a top 5. Nico might be a top 5 receiver in the league.
Higgins or Knoll are even like remotely good. They have every argument with the Bengals and these other teams. It's like, dude, Chubb and Mixon together should be good enough to be like one of those guys in their prime. And again, Schultz isn't like some bad tight end.
Right.
The offensive line is just so disappointing. And again, I don't know how it's going to be better, especially when Stroud kind of got away from, he held the ball a little bit more. He kind of, again, OC, I don't know. The Chargers, you're right. Do you love running back? I don't know. Have we seen Amari?
If you're banking, if you think Omarion Hampton is closer to Ashton Genty than, some people definitely think they're in the same ballpark. Some people thought there's a wide gap. If he's that guy behind that offensive line, he could be very productive. And Najee obviously is, he is what he is, but like you can trust you can trust to give him the ball.
I think the O-line's good. I think tight end's better than probably given credit for, but again, it's not a group that's going to like wow you. I think the Chargers are fine. They have a good, they have a good group on offense, but like, is QJ ever going to take a step? I don't know. He takes these baby steps and then it's like regression season. Harbaugh, obviously, and Greg Roman, I know it's really, Roman, but like the Harbaugh kind of influence there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fine group. After that, I struggle with this group the most because, like, in some form, Jaguars, Dolphins, Raiders, Colts.
I think you're going to be surprised at where I have the Colts.
I am too. I'll start with the Dolphins,
Okay.
and then I'll go to the Jaguars. On paper, the Dolphins group, you think skill again. This is very similar to the Texans. If you're are you really going to get Tyreek Hill and Waddle for 15, 16, and A-Chain for 15, 16 games even?
Yep.
Ooh, buddy, like they're really difficult to stop when the weather is above 50 degrees. That offensive line, Teron Armstead, we've talked about this a million times. Shout out to our sponsors here, but did anyone move a line in the NFL more non-quarterback more than Teron Armstead last year? The answer is no. And he is no longer their left tackle. And
can I give you just real quick, as I just called up the depth chart?
Yeah.
Patrick Paul, the second-year kid out of Houston, he's their left tackle. Monstrous human being, a lot of potential, second-round pick 2 years ago. James Daniel coming off the torn Achilles. They signed him in free agency. That was their big free agent splurge. Aaron Brewer, undersized center, long in the tooth now. Jonas Avenea, the former right tackle, left tackle at University of Arizona, now playing right guard. Yeah. And then Austin Jackson, who, take him or leave him. He doesn't do anything for me one way or the other.
Yeah,
their skill is really good. To your point, yeah. if Hill wants to play, which is also a big, every other week we don't know whether he wants to be in Miami or not, and Waddle can stay healthy. I like the Nick Westbrook-Akini signing. Like, he's, complimentary,
his little
physical guy. Like, gives him a little bit of a different look. Big Malik Washington guy, another one of those little jitterbug, speedy guys that they can run in the slot. But like, the offensive line can really just unravel the whole group.
Yeah, I'll go. So I'll have Dolphins at 11. I'll do Jags at 10. If Travis Hunter's special, which he should be, second overall pick in the draft. If he's really going to play offense, again, we don't know because until we see it, I don't know how they're going to. We talk about Shohei Ohtani as a dual. He's pitched one inning in 3 years, so
yeah,
it's not the MVP. But the point, and my point really being though, if he's a full-time receiver and he's really productive, this group's really fun on paper, and skill group's really good. The offensive line's better than I think what I would say is in Miami, so that's why I give them the edge there. But they're a little bit of a projection. You're saying, hey, Brian Thomas, are you going to be even better this year? Which all indications point to yes, but he's played 1 year, so it's hard to I hate giving too much credit to guys that have won breakout year on an awful team. What do you look like on a good team? Are you still getting 180 targets and things like that? Right after that, I talked about the Raiders and Colts. I'm going to surprise you here. I'm going to go Raiders, then Chiefs.
Okay.
Why do the Chiefs group is all around good. It's a good group. What's at Xavier Worthy's speed and Rashee Rice's ability to break catches, from 5 yards to take him to the house. Rashee Rice has been arrested or in trouble more than he's been on the field, and injured more than he's been on the field in 12 months. So it's hard for me to give them that. Kelsey's a really still, I know, in the clutch, like he's like Gronk at the end, where it's like, hey man, even Tampa, where it's like, hey, it's not every day, but like he's still there. He's smart, savvy. I don't like the running back room is like
Yeah.
fine. I just don't know if it's not saying the Chiefs aren't the offensive line. Little projection this year. I feel like it's a little bit. There's a lot of retooling. There's a lot of different things going on. Are they going to be actually a good group? I don't know. So yeah, I'll go Dolphins, Jags, Chiefs, and then I believe I just said the Raiders. The Raiders is a little projection, so I'm being hypocritical. But I also think the O-line's much better than given credit for. Much better. Not that it's an elite group, but it's much better than given credit for. I know it's not great, but it's a better group. Like, it's not a weak point. Running back should be really good. Should be. Again, that's the one projection. But like Jacoby Myers and Besh is a good enough group outside to get away with it, and I think they can do some creative things. And as we've mentioned, they might have the best tight end in the NFL, and that's a huge weighing factor for me. So, yeah, I went Dolphins, Jags. I'm missing somebody now. This is like I have my list in front of me, and I can't
Raiders, Chiefs.
Raiders, Chiefs, and then we'll get to the final, I guess 5 or 6 here. But I know we both are probably higher on the Colts than most.
Yeah. Before I get to that, I don't know if you've been watching the basketball finals. Got a game 7 coming on Sunday. Been good theater, small markets, whatever. So I don't know. PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America. You want to get involved? Pick 2 players up to 6 to win up to 2,000 times your cash. So if you think Tyrese Halliburton and that calf is going to get more than, say, 14.5 points, which he did in game 6, pair that together with, say, I don't know, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's SGA go nuts in a game 7 at home for Oklahoma City. Combine those two. Again, you can add different pieces if you want to cross sports. Hockey's no longer, but you still have plenty of baseball to get into, WNBA, etc. Do all those things. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. So I went Chargers 10, Jaguars 9. Jaguars, I liked the skill of that group, and I like the idea of Thomas and Hunter together. I think we talked about it leading up to the draft process, that if Hunter really concentrates, and I know they're still talking both ways, but if he really concentrates and gets to coaching at wide receiver, I think he can be the best wide receiver in this entire draft class. So I just love the idea of those two together, and I expect that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a bounce back year. Now, again, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is ever going to be what we thought he was. Probably not. We're pretty far into the road. And Liam Cohen, if he can bring the sort of magic and juice he had with Tampa Bay to Jacksonville, head coach, it's a little different. He's got a little bit more on his plate. That's why I have them 9. I put the Dolphins 8. We talked about it. Keeping Jonnu Smith would be a big thing for me here. I think there's still rumblings about whether or not he remains with the team as they try to look for a new contract. I had the Raiders 7. I don't know that I share your optimism about their offensive line. However, because of Pete and the way Pete wants to play football, and then I'm a Chip Kelly guy. Like, I know as a head coach it didn't work, but I like Chip as an offensive coordinator. I think we saw him do a great job with the run game at Ohio State. I think he's done a great job with the run game in other spots, both in pro and college. So to me, that's kind of a bet on Chip Kelly. Bowers is awesome. I like Geno Smith, as I've said a million times, more than most. So I think that's where I put him 7. I put the Chiefs 6, so barely ahead of him. Obviously, we have to take Mahomes out of this. He is a great equalizer and can raise all, the tide lifts all boats. Were these better than I thought he was going to be? Because I tend to not like those guys. But yet again, is there a ceiling to that kind of player? Kelsey's definitely, this is probably the last hole for him, right? Like we're on 18, we're walking down the fairway, we're waving to the crowd, we're getting a standing ovation.
For chunking a drive.
Yeah, exactly. But, can he deliver? He's lost some weight, apparently. so maybe in a little
Well,
bit better shape.
just want to comment on that. I don't think that was an issue for him. I almost think he actually, the last couple of years, I almost felt like he's almost playing football at a level where, like, the way Brady at the end wasn't lifting a lot. And I have no idea if this is a total, literally just guess based on, like,
You're looking at body type at this point.
yeah. And I just felt like last year, he had like a little bit, the picture of him camp where he had like a little bit of a chunky belly or whatever. But it felt like Kelsey earlier in his career was a little more jacked up. And I know he's probably trying to gain a little bit of speed back by losing a little bit of weight, but then he becomes a glorified receiver all the time. And like, I don't know. I always wonder about that strategy. I think there's people go each way. Rodgers and Brady kind of took opposite approaches. Rodgers got pretty jacked up and ended up getting hurt. So maybe that's why. But I feel like Brady did it because he was in his mid 40s and it was like flexibility and getting hit and these things like that and creating some torque where he wouldn't have to really run. I just always worry a little bit. I'm like, are you going to get to the point where you're almost so light that like you're going to start getting tossed around a little bit more? I don't know. Tight end's a tough position to do that.
I wonder with him if, because as you mentioned, the picture of him in training camp with a chunky belly, that this is more about, you know what, I'm not letting myself get into that kind of shape this offseason. I'm maintaining a better level so I come into camp and now I don't have to lose the 10 pounds that I was carrying around my midsection from having a good offseason of fun with my girl T Swizzle, like that. And that's not the thing. Andy Reid's a really good play caller. So while I don't like the running back room, tight ends are fine, but it's not what it used to be. Obviously, where Kelsey was one of the best players in football, not just one of the best, receiving tight ends. And then, some unknown at wide receiver. Offensive line, Creed Humphreys is awesome. Trey Smith's a good player. Juwan Taylor, whatever, he's average. He's getting paid more to be than that, but that's what he is. But there's questions on the left side, so that could be an issue. I think Andy can mitigate some of that stuff, and certainly Patrick can. But that's why I kind of I can't take the big leap with them. I can't put them in the top 5. But you know who I can put in the top 5? The Denver Broncos. I have them at number 5. Sean did an awesome job last year with Bo Nix. Bo will be better again. How much better? I don't know. We felt like all along he was pretty close to being a fulfilled prospect, and like this is what he's going to be. Maybe he gets 5% better. I love the pick of Harvey, and again, it's an unknown, but like I just like the way he runs. I think he fits.
Yeah.
I think the addition of Ingram, not a great player, but like a good player for that system if he can stay healthy, which is a big if. And the receiving core is not awesome, but it's solid. Cortland Sutton's a good player. Mims is a solid player. Like there's some stuff there. But I really like the offensive line. So between liking Nix enough, liking the running back room, because there's really 3 guys in that running back room, and then give me the offensive line with Peyton. That's why I kind of just slipped them ahead of Kansas City. I feel like there's a little bit more stuff that I can count on there, and maybe a few more questions that Kansas City has.
Yeah, I'll go a couple, and so we can finish up most of the years here. I also have the Broncos at 5.
Smart man.
I like everything. Excuse me, but receiver, I would love like one more guy. I'd love Troy Franklin to like be decent.
My son and I fight about Troy Franklin a lot. He loves Troy Franklin.
Yeah, just like give
he's
a little bit more.
Yeah,
they would have been higher. We'll see. This is going to probably surprise you. I'll just read my remaining 4 and let's see which one stands out. I have the Bengals at 4, the Colts at 3, Bills at 2, Ravens at 1.
You and I have the exact same final 5.
Do you love the Bengals whole core, or do we love Jamar Chase and T. Higgins?
I like some of the ancillary skill pieces. Like Gesicki's good in that offense. I don't love Gesicki as a player.
Yeah,
he's not Joseph good. Joseph had 600 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. I like Chase Brown. The offensive line to me is.
I feel like Joe's on the floor like 60 times a week.
That's my and like once again, what have they done to fix the offensive line? Nothing.
Right, and then I just. If Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones can't figure it out with this group, I don't know what the Richardson thing is really weird.
I know.
I can't emphasize this enough. When guys get hurt when they're not doing anything, it's either an existing injury they didn't take care of, or it's like we're good.
Yeah.
We're good here type of thing. Both those guys will never start in the NFL. Oh, maybe Richardson will because someone will bet on it again. If Jones can't produce with a good group at offensive line, Jonathan Taylor's still a really good back. They have 3 or 4 fun weapons at receiver, and Pittman's a legit 1. Kid Downs become a 1. Pierce is a really fun deep threat. AD Mitchell is a guy who we saw flashes from, and I think I know they love talking to people in that building. I know they love him, or at least they love the talent. So,
and we haven't seen it, but Tyler Warren, rave reviews.
Yeah, I don't even. It's hard to you almost forget about him in a sense, right? And it's forever we've been talking about, hey, can they get that next Dallas Clark, tight end? And they might have. We both like Warren a lot. 2, as I mentioned, I went the Bills. The Bills is a lot more to do with their offensive line and play caller than I think the weapons. I wouldn't have ranked them this high if the weapons, based on weapons, it would have probably been 8 or 9, maybe potentially. But the offensive lines, the one biggest comment I can give the Bills is those guys play 16, 17 games a year, every year. There's not different groups and turnover once in a while interior wise, but Dawkins and Brown, I don't love Brown, but play every week. And when you play collectively as a group, usually you're a lot better. Cook's a really good back. The tight end room's good. The receiver room's good. It's not great. And they could always use another guy. And then the Ravens, again, it might fall off a cliff at some point where a lot of these big bets they kind of make, the 1-year bets don't work. And we'll see, because if there's an excuse that this is the 3rd year in a row where we're dude, you got to get it done at some point. But yeah, like I said, all these groups are good. There's flaws in each of them. The Ravens, I'm not saying the offensive line's a flaw, but I don't feel.
But there's questions.
Quite as
Voorhees
good
at
as I used
guard.
to feel about that offensive line. A lot of guys have either moved on or gotten older, free agents, things like that. They've done the thing where the old Patriots adage, where it's we can bring in 1 or 2 guys a year on 1-year, $4 million deals and just make it work. Again, cohesively as a group, we can kind of make it work. So yeah, I know I'll let you finish this one out here with kind of your thoughts on it, but Bengals were surprisingly lower for me than I thought. Colts probably a little bit higher. And I felt like the Bills I didn't expect to be 2, but just the sum of all of the whole as opposed to some of its parts, whatever the damn saying is.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. The people at home know what you're saying. Yeah, when I looked at the Bills, and I like I said, we shared the same final 5. I had the Bills at 2. The thing about the wide receiver room is they don't have the alpha. They don't, they had it in Diggs, and obviously that ran its course. And last year was, everybody gets fed, and it worked. They got as far as they did. They had a better year than people expected. Everyone thought they would step back. It's one of those situations where you could tell me on any given Sunday, Keon Coleman was the star in this game. Shakir's the star the next game. Dalton Kincaid the game after that. So it's not top heavy. It's just really balanced, and it's a lot of good 2 through 5. You know what I mean? They're in that sort of category. And Cook obviously was terrific last year. Ty Johnson coming out of the backfield might have been the best 3rd down back in football. And you're right. You're spot on. The offensive line, the physicality, the toughness. I'm a big Osiris Torrance guy at right guard as well. That's just a really good group. Maybe, not even maybe. That is probably the best. Not even. I keep saying that is the best group, the offensive line in the AFC as of right now. So real close to overtaking the Ravens, who I had at 1. I feel the same way. Ravens, in terms of their pass catchers, Zay Flowers is a 1,000-yard receiver. Is he a true one? No. But again, there's a collection of guys. It could be Bateman one week. It's him the next week. There's a good balance there. They signed Hopkins. He's there, and we think he's probably cash. But again, if he's the 3rd or 4th option,
yeah, at least he provides another red zone threat if Andrews isn't the same guy or he gets removed. Can he just be, hey man, we're gonna throw you 2 or 3 fades a week in the red zone? Can you catch one of them?
Yep.
I know it sounds silly, but it's the truth.
I mean, think about last year, Andrews, who got off to a real slow start. Everyone thought he was cash, and then he, had a great second half. And as we recall, he dropped a 2-point conversion pass that would have forced overtime against the Bills. He finished with 55 catches, almost 700 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And Isaiah Likely, who's also entering the last year of his contract, like Andrews, 58 catches, almost 500 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So they even have. I'm assuming Mark is done after this year. Likely gets the contract extension. He walks into the number one spot, but it's like they got a ton of production out of the tight end spot last year. Whereas we know Lamar loves to throw the ball in the middle of the field. He loves his tight ends. That's 113 catches between the two guys. I also like sort of Derek had obviously 1,900 yards, 18 touchdowns, 16 rushing, 2 receiving. Justice Hill's a really nice second guy. 400 yards receiving, almost 10 yards a catch. Like, very sneaky, explosive guy in that offense, the way they use it. So I like that group. There are a couple concerns on the offensive line. I mentioned Voorhees at left guard. Linderbaum's entering the last year of his contract. They didn't want to franchise him because the number is like $6 million higher than any center's getting paid right now. So they're gonna have to try to figure that thing out. But he's really good. He's one of the 3-4 best guys in the league. So that'll be something, again, that's a different conversation. But I like that group. So I had them one just by the nose. I had the Colts 3, man. I'm with you. Like, obviously, again, we're taking the quarterback out of this because this is best supporting cast for the quarterback. But like the offensive line, Ryman, who again, this is if you're a Patriot fan, you look at Ryman and say, can Will Campbell be this? Granted, Ryman was a 3rd-round pick, Will Campbell first. But in terms of the measurables, similar short arms, although Ryman's wingspan is considerably bigger and bigger hands. But Quentin Nelson had a nice year last year, kind of bounced back after being the best offensive lineman or one of them in football for the first 4 or 5 years of his career. Bortolini at center is a good football player. Like, maybe not Ryan Kelly good, but like good. And Braden Smith at right tackle, I think, is a good player. Goes beyond Tyler Warren at tight end. Mo Alley Cox is a decent player. Ogletree, Jelani Woods, like they have options. Taylor's probably the second best running back in the AFC. Khalil Herbert, who I've always liked, is a backup. DJ Giddens, the kid from Kansas State, who I love, was a late-round pick. Maybe he shows some stuff there. So I had them 3. Bengals, to me, it's about the offensive line, just not having enough there. But overall, like I have a feeling this was hard to sort of group. I think when we go to the NFC, it's going to be hard to group for different reasons.
Yeah, it feels like NFC quarterback rankings are pretty difficult because everyone's like you can make an argument for, which is what I felt like here. And I feel like on the NFC side, it's really good. Like you think about a lot of these groups, even like the Giants might be in the top 7 in
right.
the NFC, but again, quarterbacks just gross and their offensive line's not that good. So like they wouldn't, as a team, you don't love them, but again, even the teams that aren't very good in the NFC. Arizona, like, I don't know. Their offensive line.
Arizona, top 5 AFC team supporting cast wise.
Right. But I don't love a lot about Arizona. So, point being, I think quarterbacks are extremely talented in the AFC. A lot of big time coaches and names and brands, et cetera. Really good defenses, the skill groups. It feels like, again, a lot of teams are one fatal flaw or a pack of mid and then 1 or 2 guys that are good.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So that's going to wrap this one up. Like I said, we'll be back next week on Monday with the NFC Best Supporting Cast. For those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show, a lot of other good Patriots and league content. And please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. He is Will Parkinson. I am Mike Giardi. Have an excellent weekend, and we will see you next week.